So in this video, we're going to cover packages and working with packages and how they're named, and just kind of a brief overview of how Go handles these things, because it's a little bit confusing at first, or at least it was for me. So the first thing is I'm actually in a folder where we have an application. This is the main folder for the application. I'm going to open up the main program, and you can see up here at the top that we have a package called main. And basically what happens is everything that is in this, so I'll just open up another part of this of this application. You can see that everything that's in this main folder has a package name of main. That is a requirement for Go. It has to be that way because the main application, the entry point, and just to give you an example, if I open this mercs.go up again, you can see that it actually has a function main. This is the entry point for the application inside of Go. Now, the package itself has to be called main, and everything that's in this main folder is going to have that same package name. Now, obviously, I don't want to have a folder with a whole bunch of files in it because it would get really unruly trying to keep up with everything. So we're going to create some subfolders, and we're going to put things in there to kind of organize things. So as an example, if I go into our common folder that we have here, and we open up, say, functions, you'll notice that the package name that is here is actually the same name as the folder that it's in, and that is, again, a requirement, I believe. If you change this, it doesn't compile, so I'm assuming that this is a requirement for Go. Now, the other thing that you'll notice here, and this is something to kind of keep note of, is you'll notice that the function names start with a capital letter. Function names, variable names, pretty much everything in this class or in whatever it is that you're doing is going to start with a capital letter if you want to be able to get access to this function from outside of this object. So if I wanted to be able to call get vendor ID from somewhere else in the application, I have to start it with a capital G. If I wanted to only be able to call this function from inside of this file, inside of this little object, then I would put a lowercase letter, and that prevents anything from outside of this from calling that function. So the case on the function name is actually very important. So again, everything that's inside of this particular file or inside of this particular folder is going to share this common name for the package. Now, if we take a look back here in the mercs.go file, I need to be able to use some of the things that are inside of that common folder from the main package. So I need to be able to like, for example, here we're declaring a logging file or log file feature that's going to actually be able to write error logs and that kind of thing to a log file. Well, you'll notice that if you look here where I've done this import, I've actually got the word common here in front of the actual name. So you're going to have your package name, your program name, and then a slash, and then the folder that you're looking at that you want to import. But in this case, I've given it the name common. I've given it an alias, which means that down here, when I actually try to use this log file, instead of having to type mercs common or whatever, I can actually refer to it just as common. So it's just giving me an alias to represent that particular import. So the key factors are, if you put things into a subfolder, they have to have a package name of that subfolder. And when you include them, you can include an alias with that thing to speed up actually accessing that particular file. So as an example, because let's take a look down here. Let's see, right here. So here is a function called open config file. And if we get out of this file and go into our common folder and we look at this, we have a read conf thing. A function, and here is get config file. There's a function here. There's a read config, open config file. All these functions, again, notice the case to tell me that I can call it from outside of here. Well, this is actually in a file called readconf, but because it is actually part of the package for common, then over here in our main file, when we actually try to execute that thing, we're actually going to refer to it simply as common. It is a combined, they're broken down into individual files, but they're all combined into a common package called common in this case.